Computer forensics. Computer forensics is basically the use of certain tools and procedures to carry out investigation, analysis, and study of computer devices for the gathering and preservation of evidence of a computer crime or fraud. In layman's terms, computer forensics is basically the art of looking at the information on a computer or digital device to determine what a person was doing in the electronic world. However, it is also important to note that computer forensics is not only about data recovery. It is not something that can be done with only software. So there are no ready-made tools that you can simply download from the internet and become a good computer forensic expert. It is also not something that can be performed by absolutely anyone. Computer forensics does require an adequate amount, a good amount of training and a good amount of experience as well. Now there is a famous Locard's exchange principle which is commonly referred to by any real life criminal investigator. For the time being, I am not talking about cybercrime investigation. According to the Locard's exchange principle, anyone or anything entering a crime scene takes something of the scene with them or leaves something of themselves behind when they depart. For example, if I am a murderer, if I enter a particular room, then I actually take certain aspects or certain things from the room away from the room when I leave the room. And at the same time, I always leave certain aspects about myself or something of myself in the room. Say for example, I could actually leave my fingerprints, maybe my skin degenerates and falls down, maybe my hair degenerates and certain small particles actually fall down and stay back in that particular room. So if an investigator finds one of them, then he can suspect somebody. In other words, if he notices that something is missing from a particular room, or if he notices that maybe somebody has been murdered in a particular room, then the investigator can actually suspect somebody. Or if he notices that if a criminal has left behind a fingerprint, or he finds certain wallet or a cell phone, or say the hair of the criminal has fallen down, then he can actually start suspecting somebody. However, if he finds both of what has been mentioned in the Locard's principle, then he can be sure of who actually committed the crime, or he can be sure of who the murderer is. What this essentially means is, say for example, if he notices a room and he finds that certain amount of money is missing from the room. At the same time, near the safe which contained that particular money, if he finds the fingerprint of a particular person, then he can match that fingerprint with the money that was stolen and be sure that somebody whose fingerprint has been found is actually the person who committed the crime. Now this same Locard's exchange principle can also be applied to computer forensics. So what exactly do you as a computer forensic expert need to look for while performing the investigation? First of all, you got to look for possible suspects, and the list of different possible suspects who you should actually look at are, first of all, internal disgruntled employees. Now based on the last 4 or 5 experience that I have had working in the industry with clients all across Asia Pacific and the US and even in the Middle East, what I have actually found is that in almost up to 60 to 70% of cases, all cybercrimes are a result of internal attackers. In other words, in most cybercrimes, somebody who works in your own company or somebody who works probably or has access to your room is the attacker or is the person who actually committed the crime or is the criminal. So internal disgruntled employees or internal people should be your first possible suspect. Secondly, you need to look for visitors. A lot of times in the US, especially in the US rather, a lot of companies organize something known as company tours, wherein external visitors are allowed to enter the company premises. However, a lot of these external visitors who pretend that they want to learn a bit more about the company actually end up flicking a hard drive or flicking pen drive and stealing data or stealing devices from that particular company. External attackers, chat buddies of the employees, company associates, and corporate competitors. Corporate espionage has become a big issue of concern the whole world over. Say for example, if you are a successful company, the chances are that your competitor has either hired a so-called ethical hacker, or your competitor has hired or is using internal talent to break into your network, monitor your activities, spy on you, and maybe even steal your marketing plans or sensitive intellectual property. So your corporate competitor or your competitor is yet again a very important, very crucial possible suspect that every single computer forensic expert or investigator must look at. Another thing that a computer forensic investigator must look at is the motive. So once you find a suspect, you actually try to find a motive which can be tied down or tied up with the suspect. And the different motives that have been seen in the past are maybe profit, maybe the attack was actually executed by the attacker or the suspect to earn some money. Disgruntled or unhappy, maybe it was an ex-employee who you fired, maybe it is an existing employee who you did not give the promotion to or the raise to and disgruntled him, as a result of which he or she tried to take revenge and carried out the attack. Malicious purposes, sometimes somebody just doesn't like you and as a result wants to hamper the market image or brand image of you as an individual or even your entire company. Accidental, sometimes the attacker did not know what he is doing. He probably attended an ethical hacking course like this or downloaded the tools that were discussed in this course and maybe executed the tools and accidentally brought a website down. Blackmail, sometimes the attack has been executed for blackmail purposes. For corporate espionage, like I said earlier, a lot of times your corporate competitor tries to spy on you, steal your intellectual property, steal your marketing plans. They try to gather business intelligence as to what your company is planning for the future so that they will be in a better position to tackle or fight you in the market space. Now once you have a suspect, once you have a motive, the third thing that you need to look for is the medium of attack. Typically the various possible mediums of attack are the internet. The attack could have been done using the internet, IRC or chat, internal network. I think internal network is probably the most commonly found medium of attack because like I said earlier, most of your attackers are actually people who are working for you. PCs or removable storage media, PDAs, laptops, backup storage and so on. Email, a lot of crimes are actually executed only via email. And finally through phone or fax as well. Now that you know what all you need to look for while carrying out the forensic investigation process, I also like to discuss as to what are the various sources of forensic evidence, because as a forensic investigator, your most important role is to find certain evidence so that you can prove that the suspect who had a potential motive and actually carried out the attack using the medium that you actually discovered in step 3. Now, the various sources of forensic evidence are local PC storage like the hard disk, floppy disk, CD writables, zip drives, jazz drives and so on. Application log files, it is very important for you to go through the log files